There are three important payment developments Canadian seniors need to understand before October 2026, and one of them can happen automatically without you filling out a new application. But there is an important detail that could save you from being misled by headlines online. The Government of Canada has confirmed that old age security and related OAS benefits are reviewed every 3 months, including in October. However, as of today, the exact October 2026 increase has not yet been officially published. So if you see someone claiming a specific October dollar increase right now, be careful. That number may be an estimate rather than a confirmed government figure. At the same time, another federal payment is scheduled for October 5th, and CPP and OAS recipients have another important payment date later in the month on October 28th. So today we're going to separate the facts from the rumors. We'll explain exactly what is changing, what is simply a scheduled payment, who could receive money in October, why one adjustment is automatic, what could cause your amount to change, and what you should check now, rather than waiting until the payment arrives. And stay with me, because later we'll talk about one very common mistake that can cause seniors to misunderstand why their government payment changed. If you enjoy straightforward updates about OAS, CPP, GIS, Service Canada, and Canadian senior benefits, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss future updates. Let's start with the first and potentially most important October development. For millions of Canadian seniors, the first thing to understand is the difference between a scheduled payment date and an actual benefit adjustment. Old age security is not simply increased once a year. Unlike CPP, OAS is reviewed quarterly. The Government of Canada says OAS benefits are reviewed in January, April, July, and October to reflect changes in the Consumer Price Index, or CPI. The purpose is to help benefits maintain their purchasing power as the cost of living changes. That means October is one of the 4 regular adjustment periods. And this is where the phrase automatic becomes important. If you are already receiving an eligible OAS benefit, you generally do not submit a new application every time the quarterly indexation takes effect. The benefit is adjusted through the government's normal calculation process. In other words, this is not like a special application window where every senior has to fill out a form to request the October adjustment. But there is another side to this story. The fact that October is an adjustment month does not mean every senior will suddenly receive the same increase. Your actual payment depends on your individual circumstances and the specific benefit you receive. Long AS can be affected by factors such as age, residence history, income, and whether you receive the full pension or a partial pension. And GIS is even more dependent on income and marital circumstances. So when you hear someone say, every senior is getting an extra $100 in October, you should immediately be cautious. Government benefits do not work that way. There is no confirmed universal October dollar increase that we can responsibly give you at this point. The official information confirms that OAS benefits are adjusted quarterly and that the July to September 2026 adjustment increased OAS by 1.2% compared with the previous quarter, bringing the increase over the previous year to 2.3% from July 2025 to July 2026. The next adjustment is the October review. The exact number will depend on the applicable CPI calculation, and that distinction is extremely important because a senior watching a YouTube video wants a simple answer. How much more will I get? But the honest answer, before the official October figure is published, is that we cannot responsibly give you a final dollar amount, and that is not bad news. It simply means we're going to use confirmed information rather than guessing. Now let's talk about GIS. If you receive the Guaranteed Income Supplement, you need to understand that GIS is connected to the OAS program but is not identical to OAS. GIS is designed to provide additional income support to eligible low-income OAS recipients. Your GIS amount depends on factors including your marital status and income from the previous year. That means 2 seniors who are both 70 years old and both receive OAS could have very different GIS payments. One person could receive GIS, another might receive little or none. And another person's amount could change because their income or marital situation changed. This is why October is important, but also why you should not compare your deposit with your neighbor's deposit and assume something is wrong. Government benefits are individualized. For example, imagine 2 single seniors. One has very little taxable income apart from government pensions. The other has additional pension income, investment income, or other reportable income. Even though both people are the same age, their GIS entitlement can be different. That's why understanding your own benefit calculation matters much more than looking at someone else's payment. And here's another detail many seniors overlook. GIS is reviewed based on income information, so filing your tax return is extremely important. The government uses tax information to determine benefit eligibility and amounts. If your income situation changes significantly, your benefit situation can change as well. So October is not simply about watching your bank account. It is also a good time to make sure your information with the government is accurate, but that's only part of the October story. because there is another payment that has nothing to do with OAS indexation, and eligible seniors could receive it at the beginning of the month. The second important October development is the Canada Groceries and Essentials Benefit, or CGEB. If that name sounds new, there's a reason. The CGEB replaced the GST/HST credit beginning in July 2026. The government says the new benefit kept the same basic eligibility, payment calculation, and structure as the previous GST/HST credit, while increasing the benefit amount by 25% for 5 years beginning in July 2026. And here's the important October date. The CRA lists October 5th, 2026 as the second quarterly payment date for the 2026 to 27 CGEB payment period. This is particularly relevant for seniors with low or modest incomes. Why? Because the CGEB is not a seniors-only program. It is available to eligible individuals and families who meet the program's requirements. That means some seniors may receive it, but being a senior by itself does not guarantee the payment. Your eligibility depends on factors including residency, age requirements, and adjusted family net income. And there is another important point. You generally do not need to submit a separate application for this benefit. The CRA says that in most cases, you simply need to file your tax return each year. The CRA automatically checks your eligibility when your return is assessed. That's why tax filing is so important for retirees. You might think, I don't work anymore, so why do I need to file a tax return? But filing your return can affect access to government benefits and credits. A senior with little or no employment income may still have income from CPP, OAS, pensions, investments, or other sources. And the CRA needs current tax information to determine eligibility for programs like the CGEB. For the July 2026 to June 2027 payment period, the CGEB is based on information from the 2025 tax return. The CRA says eligible individuals could receive up to $679 for a single person or up to $890 for someone who is married or has a common law partner, with additional amounts possible for eligible children. But remember, those are annual maximums, not necessarily what you will receive in October. Your actual entitlement depends on your circumstances. For many recipients, the annual amount is divided into 4 payments. So October 5th is one of the 4 scheduled payment dates. This is an important distinction. We're not saying every Canadian senior will receive a CGEB payment. We're saying eligible seniors who qualify for the benefit have an October payment scheduled. Now let's move to the third development. This one is simpler. The Government of Canada payment calendar lists October 28th, 2026 as the payment date for both CPP and OAS. If you're receiving CPP or OAS and are eligible for the October payment, October 28th is the scheduled date. But here's why I'm including this in the video. A lot of seniors hear the words October payment change and assume that CPP itself is being increased in October. That is not what the official information says. CPP has a different adjustment system. The Government of Canada states that CPP benefit increases are calculated once a year using the Consumer Price Index and that the new amounts come into effect each January. For 2026, CPP benefits increased by 2.0%. So October is not the normal CPP annual indexation month. That means if your CPP payment changes in October, you should not automatically assume that it is because of an October CPP inflation increase. There could be another reason. For example, your personal tax situation could affect the amount deposited. Your benefit circumstances could have changed. A payment adjustment or correction could have occurred. Or you could simply be looking at a different combination of benefits arriving in your account. The important point is to check your official payment information rather than guessing. And this is exactly why separating CPP from OAS is so important. CPP is based on your contributions and other CPP rules. OAS is a federal pension benefit with quarterly indexation. GIS is an income-tested supplement connected to OAS, and the CGEB is a CRA-administered benefit based on tax information. 4 different programs can mean 4 different sets of rules. So who should pay the closest attention? First, seniors already receiving OAS should watch for the October OAS adjustment. Again, the adjustment is part of the normal quarterly indexation process. Second, seniors receiving GIS should pay attention because their payment can be affected by income and marital circumstances. Third, seniors with low or modest incomes who qualify for the Canada Groceries and Essentials benefit should watch for the October 5th payment. And fourth, anyone receiving CPP or OAS should know that October 28th is the scheduled federal pension payment date. Now here's something especially important for couples. The CGEB can be calculated using adjusted family net income when you're married or have a common law partner. That means a change in marital status can affect the calculation. The CRA specifically provides examples showing that a change in marital status can result in a recalculation beginning with a later payment. So if you got married, separated, divorced, or experienced another major change in your family situation, don't assume your payment will remain exactly the same. Make sure the CRA has accurate information. The same principle applies to address and banking information. If you recently changed banks or moved, make sure your government records are up to date. You don't want a payment problem in October because an old banking account or address is still on file. This is probably the most important lesson in today's video. There are 3 different things people often call a payment change. The first is a change in the amount. The second is a new or separate payment. The third is simply the date the payment is deposited. Those are not the same thing. For example, October 28th is the CPP and OAS payment date. That does not automatically mean CPP is receiving an October inflation increase. OAS, on the other hand, is reviewed in October as part of its quarterly indexation system. And the CGEB has its own October payment on October 5th. So if someone sees 3 deposits or changes around October and calls all of them 3 new pension increases, that can create a very misleading picture. This is especially important for seniors managing a fixed monthly budget. You don't want to build your grocery budget, rent budget, or medication budget around an amount that has not been officially confirmed. Instead, treat any upcoming increase as potential additional income until your official payment information confirms the exact amount. And if the amount is smaller than expected, don't panic. There may be a perfectly normal explanation. Let's address the question many viewers are probably waiting for. How much will OAS increase in October? At the time this script is being prepared, the official Government of Canada page confirms the July to September 2026 adjustment, but it has not yet published the final October to December 2026 amount. That means we should not invent a number. You may see estimates circulating online. Some websites may attempt to calculate the future increase using recent inflation data. Those estimates can be useful for discussion, but they are not the same thing as an officially announced payment amount. The final adjustment is tied to the CPI methodology. And because even a relatively small percentage can translate into different dollar amounts depending on your existing entitlement, the safest approach is to wait for the official figure. This is one reason I recommend checking the Government of Canada information, instead of relying only on social media posts. A headline might say, "Seniors getting $50 more," but $50 for whom? A full OAS recipient, a partial pension recipient, someone receiving OAS plus GIS, someone receiving an additional benefit, those distinctions matter. And they matter even more when you're planning a fixed retirement budget. Let's return to the phrase, "one is automatic." The OAS indexation process is the clearest example. If you already qualify for OAS and are receiving it, the quarterly indexation is not something you normally have to apply for separately. The government reviews OAS amounts according to the CPI process. That is different from applying for a completely new benefit, but there is also an automatic element to the CGEB. The CRA says that in most cases, you don't need to apply separately. If you file your tax return, the CRA automatically assesses whether you're entitled. So there are actually 2 different meanings of automatic worth understanding. One is automatic indexation of an existing pension benefit. The other is automatic eligibility assessment through tax filing. You still have responsibilities, you need to provide accurate information, you need to file your taxes, you need to report changes when required, and you need to check your government records. Automatic does not mean you never have to do anything. It means you don't normally need to submit a separate application for each routine adjustment or quarterly payment. Now let's make the October timeline simple. October 5th is the scheduled payment date for the Canada Groceries and Essentials benefit. If you qualify and are entitled to the benefit, this is the first October payment date you should know about. Then there is the October OAS and GIS adjustment period. The government reviews OAS benefits quarterly, including October, based on CPI changes. The exact October amount should be confirmed through official government information once available. Then October 28th is the scheduled CPP and OAS payment date. These dates are useful because they allow you to distinguish one payment from another. If money arrives on October 5th, don't automatically assume it is CPP. If your October 28th deposit changes, don't automatically assume CPP itself was indexed in October. And if your OAS amount changes, remember that OAS has a quarterly indexation system. Once you understand these differences, government payment information becomes much easier to follow. The first mistake is believing every headline that contains a large dollar amount. If an article says every Canadian senior is getting a specific amount in October, look for the official source. The second mistake is confusing CPP with OAS. They are different programs and they use different adjustment schedules. CPP is adjusted annually in January, OAS is reviewed quarterly. That's a major difference. The third mistake is assuming every senior qualifies for the CGEB. The CGEB is based on eligibility and income requirements. Being 65 or older doesn't automatically guarantee the benefit. The fourth mistake is forgetting to file taxes because you have little or no taxable income. Tax filing is important because CRA uses tax information to determine eligibility for several benefits and credits. The fifth mistake is failing to report major changes in your circumstances. Changes in marital status, income, address, or banking information can matter. And the sixth mistake is budgeting with an unconfirmed increase. Until the official amount is published, don't treat an estimated October OAS increase as guaranteed money. So what should you actually do? First, check your My Service Canada account. This can help you review your CPP and OAS information. Second, check your CRA account for information related to the Canada Groceries and Essentials benefit. Third, make sure your 2025 tax return has been filed and assessed if you are expecting income-tested benefits based on that information. Fourth, check your direct deposit information. If you've changed banks recently, make sure the government has the correct account. Fifth, if your marital status or other important personal circumstances have changed, make sure the appropriate government department has been informed. And finally, keep an eye on the official October OAS amount once it is published. Don't rely on a screenshot or a social media claim. The official Canada.ca information is the safest place to confirm government benefit rules. If this information is helping you understand what is actually changing and what isn't, take a moment to subscribe. This channel is focused on making complicated Canadian benefit information easier to understand without exaggerating the numbers. For a senior living on a fixed income, even a small change can matter. Maybe it pays for a few extra groceries, maybe it covers part of a utility bill. Maybe it gives you a little more room for transportation costs. Or maybe it doesn't change your budget at all, because the adjustment is smaller than your rising expenses. That is why I don't want you to think about an OAS adjustment simply as free extra money. Think about it as part of the government's broader system for maintaining benefit purchasing power. OAS is indexed because prices change, but inflation can affect your household differently from the CPI measure used for benefit indexation. If your biggest expenses are rent, groceries, heating, and prescription-related costs, your personal cost increases may not match the overall CPI exactly. So even when your OAS rises, your real-world budget may still feel tight. This is why knowing every benefit you qualify for is important. A senior who overlooks a legitimate tax credit or income-tested benefit could potentially be leaving money unclaimed. And that's where programs such as the CGEB become relevant. The CGEB replaced the GST/HST credit in July 2026 and increased the benefit amount by 25% for 5 years. For eligible seniors, that could be more meaningful than focusing only on a small quarterly OAS adjustment. Let's make the 4 programs extremely simple. CPP is connected to your contributions to the Canada Pension Plan during your working years. OAS is a federal pension benefit with eligibility based primarily on age, residence, and other program rules. GIS is an income-tested supplement for eligible low-income OAS recipients. The CGEB is a CRA benefit for eligible low and modest income individuals and families. These programs can arrive in the same bank account, but that doesn't mean they're the same payment. They have different eligibility rules, they have different calculation methods, they have different adjustment schedules, and they can respond differently when your income or circumstances change. Once you understand that, the October picture becomes much clearer. Instead of thinking, the government is changing my pension, you can ask a better question. Which program changed? Why did it change? And is the change permanent, quarterly, annual, or simply a scheduled payment? That question can prevent a lot of confusion. Let's imagine a hypothetical senior named David. David is 70 years old. He receives CPP and OAS. He also receives GIS because his income is low enough to qualify. David files his taxes every year. He may also qualify for the Canada Groceries and Essentials benefit. What happens in October? First, David could receive a CGEB payment on October 5th if he is entitled. Second, his OAS and GIS benefits are subject to the October quarterly adjustment process. Third, his regular CPP and OAS payment is scheduled for October 28th, but David should not assume all 3 events are the same thing. The October 5th payment is a CRA benefit. The October OAS adjustment is part of quarterly indexation. The October 28th date is the scheduled CPP and OAS payment date, and CPP itself is not receiving its regular annual CPI adjustment in October. That example shows why the language matters. 3 October developments can affect a senior's cash flow without meaning there are 3 separate CPP increases. There are several reasons your deposit may look different from another senior's. Your OAS could be different because of partial versus full pension eligibility. Your GIS could be different because of income. Your marital status could affect income-tested benefits. Your CGEB could differ because of adjusted family net income. Your tax situation could affect your net deposit. And your payment timing can differ depending on whether you use direct deposit or receive a check. The Government of Canada also notes that payment dates are the dates payments are issued, and actual arrival can take additional time. So if you don't see money in your bank account at the exact moment you expect it, don't immediately assume something has gone wrong. Check your official payment status first. Don't call Service Canada simply because your neighbor received a different amount. Don't change your budget based on an unofficial October increase estimate. Don't assume CPP is getting an October inflation increase. Don't assume every senior qualifies for the CGEB, and don't ignore your tax return because you're retired. Instead, use official information and your own benefit records. Your circumstances are what determine your payment. This is especially important because online videos can sometimes combine several real government programs and present them as one giant new senior payment. That's not how the system works. There may be several legitimate payments available, but each one has its own rules. So what should Canadian seniors remember as October approaches? The first major point is that OAS and GIS are part of a quarterly adjustment cycle. October is one of the official adjustment months. The exact October 2026 increase should be confirmed through the Government of Canada once the calculation is published. The second point is that the Canada Groceries and Essentials benefit has an October 5th payment date. This is particularly relevant to low and modest income Canadians who qualify, including some seniors. The third point is that October 28th is the scheduled CPP and OAS payment date. But October is not the regular CPP inflation adjustment month. CPP's annual CPI adjustment happens in January. These distinctions may sound technical, but when you're living on retirement income, technical details can affect real money. If you only have time to do one thing after watching this video, check your official government benefit information. Don't start by searching social media. Don't start by comparing your bank deposit to someone else's. Start with the official source. Check your Service Canada information for CPP and OAS. Check your CRA information for tax-related benefits such as the CGEB, and make sure your tax filing and personal information are current. If you have a question about your specific entitlement, use the official government benefit tools or contact the appropriate department. Your personal circumstances determine your benefit amount, and no general YouTube video can replace your individual government record. Before October arrives, ask yourself 4 simple questions. Have I filed my required tax return? Is my address current? Is my direct deposit information correct? And have I checked my official CPP, OAS, GIS, and CRA benefit information? If the answer to all 4 is yes, you're in a much better position to understand what happens when the October payments arrive. And remember, you do not need to panic if your October deposit isn't dramatically higher. The purpose of quarterly OAS indexation is to respond to changes in the CPI, not to create a large payment every quarter. Some adjustments can be relatively small. What matters is that you understand the system and know what you're actually entitled to. Let's bring everything together. There are 3 important October developments Canadian seniors should know about. First, OAS and related OAS benefits are reviewed for quarterly indexation in October. This adjustment is part of the normal system and does not normally require a separate application for people already receiving the benefit. Second, eligible Canadians receiving the Canada Groceries and Essentials benefit have an October 5th, 2026 payment date. The CGEB replaced the GST/HST credit in July 2026 and provides increased benefit amounts for eligible recipients. Third, October 28, 2026 is the scheduled CPP and OAS payment date, but there is a crucial correction to many headlines. CPP is not normally adjusted for inflation in October. CPP's annual CPI adjustment occurs in January. And finally, the exact October 2026 OAS increase should not be guessed before the official amount is released. That is the difference between an estimate and a government-confirmed figure. So if you are a Canadian senior, retiree, CPP recipient, OAS recipient, or GIS recipient, don't focus only on the headline saying 3 changes. Focus on which program is changing, when the money is scheduled, whether you're eligible, and what information the government uses to calculate your benefit. That approach can help you avoid confusion and make better decisions with your retirement income. And remember, government benefits can change for legitimate reasons, but not every change is an increase, and not every October payment represents a new pension. If you found this explanation useful, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications for future Canadian seniors benefit updates. We'll continue to separate confirmed government information from estimates and online rumors so you can make sense of CPP, OAS, GIS, and other retirement benefits without unnecessary confusion. Most importantly, keep your tax information current, keep your government records accurate, and check your official benefit information before making financial decisions. October is approaching. Now you know exactly what to watch for.